So, Erev Tov, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Tonight is Motzei Yud Shvat, 10th of Shvat. So, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shachim v'dvar.
Amen.
Hey, Jeremy.
Hey.
So tonight's Yud Shvat, which is the 10th of Shvat. What do we celebrate on Yud Shvat? Yud Shvat is the day that the Rebbe became Rebbe. It's coronation night. The Rebbe accepted leadership officially in 1951. Was immediately running Rebbe as soon as Yud Shvat Tavshin Yud 1950. And of course, that comes together with the Yom HaYilula, the passing of the Frierdiker Rebbe. On the passing of the Frierdiker Rebbe, the sixth Lubavitcher Rebbe, the father of the Rebbe, is immediately when the Rebbe accepted leadership, and the continuation of the Dor starting with the Dor HaShvi, the seventh generation from the Alter Rebbe of Chabad, and with it all the way through till now in our generation in 2026. So it's 76 years since the Rebbe accepted leadership, and it's like the Rebbe's message to us immediately. Hold on a second. The Rebbe told us immediately that our generation, Dar HaShvi, the sixth generation, that our job is to bring Mashiach. Like the Rebbe said, the Rebbe tells us the Medrash that says, Basi Lagani, I've come to my garden, and Basi Lagani Achaisi Kala, my sister, my bride, which is referring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a pasuk, a verse in Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs, which is referring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, speaking to the Jewish people in the Song of Songs and saying, I've come back to my garden. Now, what does it mean, I've come back to my garden? That Hashem created the world, this was his home. You have to imagine, it's like someone who builds a home. And in this home, he wanted to have a relationship with people. And Hashem wanted that the people in this world are going to together. They're going to reveal His great presence in this world, and reveal godliness in this world. And starting from the Chet Eitzadas, imagine you have a person, to use it in basic terms, you have a person who builds a house, builds a big property, beautiful, every detail, and nothing's missing, furnished beautifully, created beautifully, all the rooms are nice, heating, air conditioning, view, everything is beautiful. And he brings his bride into the house so they could build a home and build a relationship. And the bride doesn't stay faithful to the groom. The bride doesn't stay faithful to the grooms. So the groom slowly starts to feel uncomfortable in his own home that he built to build a life with his bride. So first he moves to he separates the beds, and then he moves to the couch, and he moves to a further bedroom, and then he moves out of the house. He moves into the garage. Then he pitches the tent all the way in the back of the backyard. He doesn't want to be in the home anymore. He doesn't feel that there's a relationship anymore. So he built his whole home, but his bride isn't faithful, and he doesn't feel like he wants to be with his bride in this home anymore. And then slowly, the bride starts to change things. And she shows him step by step how she wants to build a relationship, a faithful relationship. Yes, there's been problems. Yes, I've done things that are hurtful and offensive, but I want to build a relationship again. And the groom loves the bride so much, and notwithstanding the fact that the bride did things hurtful, did things that was unfaithful to him, but his love for the bride and his faith in the relationship was so great that slowly the groom moves back to the garage, and from the garage he moves back slowly to the outer bedroom, and then to the couch, and eventually makes it back to the bedroom. And that's what Shlomo Melech said is Shir HaShirim. That's Basi Lagani. Hashem created this world so he could have a relationship with us, but we right away sinned. We ate from the tree of knowledge. God asked us not to. He said, don't do that. That's all I'm asking. It's a beautiful house, everything you could have over here, but not to eat from the tree of knowledge. And the bride, the people ate from the tree of knowledge. And after the Halo, Dr. Susan, and after the tree of knowledge, the Jewish people ate from. The Jewish people did the sin of Cain and Enosh, and slowly godliness moved out of this world, this beautiful world that He created to have a relationship with us. He created a world so that we together could build Dira B'Tachtona, making a resting place for Hashem here. And all of a sudden Avram comes back, and Avram says, don't have faith in the people. We could rebuild the relationship. Yes, there's a flood, and yes, they serve idols. In times of Avram Avinu, Echad Oy Avram, Avram was one voice who called out to God, and he called that people should call out to God. Altik Vayikra Leviyakri, he has told others, call to God. Shout, we recognize that this is a home for us together, for us and God, so we could reveal His glory here in this world. And Avram came and he had Yitzchak, and Yitzchak had Yaakov, and slowly the Avos and the great tzaddikim afterwards brought HaKadosh Baruch Hu closer back home, because Hashem left home like the groom who pitches a tent all the way in the back of the corner of the yard. The furthest place, the groom says, I want to be, what's the furthest place I could be from my relationship? I feel hurt. Because it wasn't one time, it was another time and another time and another time that the bride keeps pushing him away. So when Avram starts to bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu back into the relationship to reveal that the people are saying to God that Hashem Echad is one God, and Yitzchak goes and he builds and reveals the wells, and Yaakov with his avodah and the avos and the shvatim. Until, like the Rebbe says from the Medrash, that Moshe Rabbeinu is the seventh, and he brings HaKadosh Baruch Hu back here through the Mishkan and Matan Torah. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes back home, and he gives the Jewish people his Torah. What does he give the Jewish people his Torah? Hashem gives the Jewish people something that we didn't have initially, right? When Adam and Eve lived in the Garden of Eden. God told them, be fruitful, multiply. God told them, L'avdal, L'shemra. But there was no Torah mitzvahs to say that God would reveal to Adam and Rishon and made that right now starts the avodah of Torah mitzvahs. Didn't start. It only started a little bit with Avram, and it only finalized with the Matan Torah, with the giving of the Torah. And that's what God says, Basi L'gani, I'm back home. And now in my home, I come home and we have even our relationship, because it went through strain, and our relationship because we've had a lack of trust, we've had hurtfulness, and we went back and forth. There's a lot of banter back and forth. So now Hashem says we're home, and here's the Torah mitzvahs, and now we're going to start to build a mishkan. We're going to mamish build through the 630 mitzvahs, the 248 positive commandments, 365 prohibitions. This is how we're going to reveal our relationship, the relationship of mankind and HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this beautiful world. The world is the setting. It's like literally, God. When we say Ma Rabba Masach Hashem, Ma Gadol Masach Hashem, look at God's multiple handiworks and the greatness. Is God showing us? Look what kind of beautiful world I built, so we could live together here to bring Torah mitzvahs in this world. Imagine God could have built. He could have said, you know what? I'm going to take a few boards. I'm going to bang them together. We're going to go somewhere in some dirty area, with polluted area, with dirty water, and we'll also have a home there. No, God makes a garden. He makes a beautiful garden for the people, with mountains and water and fruit trees, variety of foods for so many different people, different climate. I mean, everything. A person could say that there's, if I like the heat, I go to the heat. I like the cold, I go to the cold. I like to be in the mountains, I go to the mountains. I like to be in the desert, I go to the desert. I like trees, I'm with the trees. I like that there's the palm trees, I go to palm trees. Hashem made it with a different flavor and different taste for every person, to feel comfortable, to feel at home, to make for this place, to make a dira for Hashem. And Moshe Rabbeinu was the seventh, and he He brought the relationship back together. He patched the relationship up. But then comes afterwards, a few weeks after, not even 2 months after the giving of the Torah, is the sin of the golden calf. And then comes the Mishkan. And then comes all the generations of the stormy relationship we have with Hashem. Hashem's love Hashem never, like Hashem made a vow, He's never going to abandon the Jewish people. He's never going to exchange the Jewish people. We're going to work this out. We're going to march together with the ups and the downs, with the frustrations, with the lack of trust, with the suspicion. We're going to build this relationship. We're going to go because there's a greater goal that's going to accomplish. Everything that we have until now, this beautiful garden and this beautiful home and this beautiful place we have to bring it to a higher level. And the Rebbe told us in the first message of the Maimer that that's our job. Our job is that we are the Dor HaShvi. You look at, like the Rebbe says, we didn't choose to be the Dor HaShvi, the seventh generation, and we're definitely not greater than anyone before us. But we're the ones who are going to be able to build this relationship back to where it was and even greater. Through Torah mitzvahs, through avodah, through kindness, through Avos Yisrael, like the Rebbe said in his first talk, that my message is that Avos Yisrael and Avos Hashem and Avos Torah are one. That the love, you can't have love for God and not love for your fellow man, and you can't have love for your fellow man and not have love for God, and you can't have love for God and your fellow man and not have love for Torah. It's all one. And that's how it's Basi Lagani, and that's how we bring Mashiach. So, l'chaim everyone, Yud Shvat, we celebrate another year of the Rebbe's leadership, another year of the Rebbe's guidance in showing us how, the game plan is now. And like all those, we're in Seattle, so all those Seahawk fans know that when it comes to football, you have to, like we say many times, you have to. It's the last seconds of the game, and we're on the goal line, and we have to go get that last score to get a victory. And there's a lot of pushback, and there's a lot as forceful as we're coming to bring Mashiach. There's other forces that don't want Mashiach. They want to break the relationship between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Jewish people, and really want to break the relationship between HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, and creation. If the people knew that they're pushing back their own benefit, they're not seeing it that way. But if they realize that they're pushing back their own benefit, it says if the nations would know the power of the Beis Hamikdash, not only wouldn't they destroy it, they would protect it. This is a benefit for all mankind. So l'chaim, everyone, l'chaim. Like the Rebbe says, every year the Rebbe is stronger with us. Every year the Rebbe is more effective with us. We see that clearly. Facts on the ground, the success of Torah mitzvahs worldwide, with all that we could wake up in the morning and say 1,000 things that are wrong with the world. That you look around the world, you see how yesterday while I was working, sitting here, I was watching the levaya, the burial of the final hostage soldier officer that was found in Gaza this week and was brought to burial, and listening to his mother's speech and his father's speech, and listening to the narrative on the internet, on the television, on the channel 14 that was talking. It's incredible. This is the largest TV station in Eretz Yisrael, and the whole all they were talking about was Mashiach, mamash, and it wasn't like they brought some Chabad shliach. Let's bring the Chabadnik who's into Mashiach. It was just the regular hosts as they're having a conversation about what does this mean, and how and the unity and the commitment that the Jewish people, that the fellow soldiers had to each other. They went and they dug place after their hands. They dug with their hands until they found him. Who does that? The world didn't understand what the Jewish people were talking about. The world is saying that you're saying that you can't move forward in anything until you find. I mean, so you may say it's an unmarked grave. What's the difference? But to know that the Jewish people said, no, there's no such thing. Every Jewish person, this guy is a person who's comfortable in his home. He drove down on Simchas Torah, saved people, after people, after people, after people. And they finally killed him because after he just didn't stop coming and bringing Baruch Hashem,
Losing your
saving.
signal, Rabbi Mendy.
What? You don't see me? Do you hear me? Jeremy, can you hear me? So
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. So he said. So we had. But
now I can hear. Now I can see you, but I can hear you, but the screen is frozen. I don't know about Jeremy, but I lost you a minute or so ago.
It could be you have to turn your camera off. It could be your Wi-Fi isn't strong enough. Check your Wi-Fi. Try to turn off your camera and see if it gets any better. So this is a beautiful thing, amazing thing. I mean that the Klal Yisrael, they found the body, they sing on imamim. I mean this is something that this is Otat Kut Mashiach. This is, you see, the whole world's talking about Mashiach. It's incredible. And this was, the Rebbe started this in 19 Mamish, pushed forward with this campaign, started in 1944, L'Alta L'Shuva, L'Alta Geula from the Frierdiker Rebbe. But the whole world is ready for Mashiach. And we just have to open our eyes, like the Rebbe says, and say that we're Ad Mosai, we don't want this anymore. We don't want the hate. We don't want the fighting. We don't want the blood. We want Mashiach. We want the world to be in a better place. We want calm at home, right? We don't want a stormy relationship anymore. We want calm at home. We want it to be a loving house. Basi Lagani, this is our home. This is the home of all mankind with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. This has to be a place that's it's not a pleasant place to live in. Not a awful place to live in that no one wants to come home. No one wants to look at each other. And it just brings us to this week's Parsha. A few points I want to talk about. We have a few minutes left. We learned this Parshat Beshalach is an amazing Parsha. I just want to say, there's in Rambam, we're getting ready this week. I think it's this week, next Shabbos already. Next week, we already finished the another cycle of the Rambam. It's going to be both the 3 parakim and the 1 parak. They're coming together. The 3 chapters a day and the 1 chapter a day. So in the final chapters of the Rambam, the final book of Rambam, it talks about a law of a rebellious sage. What's a rebellious sage? The sage is a sage. It's not a person who's not a believer in Torah. It's not a person who's looking to mock Torah. The rebellious sage is a sage. The Talmud Chacham, Zakin Mamre. What's the Zakin Mamre? A student like all the other students, and he had a teacher, and he had tradition, but he doesn't want to acknowledge the final word of the Sanhedrin, right? We open up the Talmud, and we open up the Mishnah, and we see Rabbi so-and-so says this, and Rabbi so-and-so says that, and Rabbi Yehuda says this, and Rabbi says that, and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says this, and Rabbi Yehuda says that, and Rabbi Meir says that. We have a lot of opinions, but what's the law? And why do you have different opinions? Because there's different traditions of how they understood the details of the law and how we come to the law and how and what's the principles of the law. But the final ruling is the final ruling based on the system, how Hashem made it. That if there's any final questions, then the Sanhedrin decides. So a rebellious sage is a person who has all the qualifications of being a sage, but doesn't want to yield to the final ruling of the Sanhedrin. And the Torah tells us about that the person who's a rebellious sage, again, and the person means it because the person thinks that the law is like him. So it doesn't just think it as a teaching. But a rebellious sage is a person who says, not only am I not going to accept the final ruling and continue to teach my theory, that's okay. But it's the rebellious sage tells his students that this is the law and this is what you're supposed to do. So the law is that a rebellious sage gets put to death. He gets taken to the prison, and on the holiday, they put him to death. It's called the Zakim Mamre, because he doesn't listen. There's a rule. There's a system. Now, in the Rambam says something, listen to this, a fascinating thing. The Rambam says 1,000 scenarios of what could be the law that this sage disagrees with. It has to be a law that could some way or another lead to karas. Means to say that, for instance, if the sage were to say that if someone says this is my talis and someone says this is my talis, and the Sanhedrin says that we award the talis to one person, and the rebellious sage says no, I think the other person gets the talis. Now the problem is now, so seemingly it's a simple argument. Who gets the talis? It's a value of $10. But it gets complicated, because what happens if that person takes the talis and marries a woman with it and says, here's the talis, I'm giving to you this as my gift to you for marriage, as value. So then it becomes a question of, if the money was not his, then he couldn't engage her. If he didn't engage her, she's not engaged, and then she's not considered a married woman, etc. It could lead to a situation where a married woman is either married or not married, and that's a violation if someone has relations with her. If she was married, then he had relations with the married woman, but if it wasn't his money, they never got married. So the Rambam gives so many scenarios of how could it be where it looks like a small argument that leads to something big. And if you take away, you read law after law, your mind is spinning like this. If he says this law, he says this law, he says this ruling and that ruling. But if you put away all the scenarios, it comes to one basic idea, that you have a rebellious sage who gives a ruling about something that could lead to kares, that could lead to that you have to be put to death for doing a transgression. Same thing with this week's Parsha. This week's Parsha has a lot going on, but if you just look at forget all the verses that has a lot going on, that the Jewish people left Egypt and the Egyptians are following them and they want to kill them, and they go through the Red Sea and they split the Red Sea. There's a lot of conversation, there's a lot of panic in this week's Parsha. The Jewish people are panicking. Moshe is concerned. God is saying, don't worry, Hashem yilachem lachem, v'achtem tacharishon, it's time to be quiet, it's not time to pray. We learn about the man. The man is the bread that fell in heaven. We learn about the war of Amalek. There's a lot packed into this parsha. But if you let everything settle, what this week's parsha is when the Jewish people, the reality of leaving Golus. Last week we left Golus, we left Mitzrayim. Next week we get the Torah. This week is the week of those 49 days in between. When the Jewish people counted the Omer, they counted every day. This week is where the Jewish people are learning to be a people, learning to understand Moshe Rabbeinu, learning to trust the Hashem. What is the man? The man is about trusting Hashem. What happened? The Jewish people, if standing by the sea, they have to trust Hashem. What happens? Amalek comes to fight. You have to trust Hashem. If you really break it down, after everything settles, all the stories of the Parsha, it comes down, this is a Parsha of Bitachon. All the stories come down, all the happenings of this week's Parsha was a lot of panic, a lot of noise, a lot of threats, a lot of uncertainty. And it all comes down to just trust Hashem. Know Hashem is doing it has a plan for you. I sat with someone last week who I learned with, a young man who comes to my office, and we learn 30 minutes a week, Shar Bitachon, the gates of trust. He walks in and he says, I'm struggling with Bitachon now. I'm struggling with trust. I say, why? He says, well, I'm trying to close this business deal, and it's not closing. I said, you have to know what you're struggling with. You don't lack trust in God. You have a problem with your trust in God. You're frustrated. It means if you didn't believe in God, if you didn't believe that God is here to exist, we wouldn't be sitting here, and you wouldn't be angry. Why? Because you would say, I have to make a deal. I couldn't close it. It didn't close, or someone didn't let it close. Right? You would understand this is not everything you try to do happens. But it's because you trust in God, you're frustrated. You want God to do things the way you want him to do it. You're thinking to yourself that God is not doing things that you would like him to do things. You're frustrated with God. I said, it's not, I'm not saying it's okay to be frustrated with God, but you have to know what you're feeling. You have to identify your feeling. Your feeling's frustration. Now, of course, frustration comes because you don't have proper trust in God. You're thinking that you know what Hashem should do for you, and you don't like the way it's happening. The Jewish people stood by the sea. And everyone had old conversations, and they didn't know what to do. And they're talking, and Moshe is crying to God, and God says, "No, I don't." No, God's like looking through his notes. I don't remember telling you guys that this is a time to have a conversation. I said we're going to Matan Torah now. So you have to keep on traveling. The instructions haven't changed. Have trust. There's a plan here. There's an idea here. The Jewish people are hungry. And they come to Hashem and they say, there's no more food. We're going to starve to death. And God says, whoa, slow down. Don't worry. There's a plan here. Amalek comes and says to the Jewish people, we're going to wage war against you. We're going to destroy you. We're not going to let you go to Matan Torah. God says, don't, we have this. We got this. The Jewish people faced multiple challenges in this week's Parsha before Matan Torah, and it all comes down to a lack of understanding, a lack of getting overwhelmed, going into panic. God says, Tacharishon, be quiet, sheket. Now it's not don't worry about it. I got this. We have a plan. We're going to Matan Torah. You think you went to Mitzrayim to fall in the hands of Amalek? You think you went to Mitzrayim and come out of Mitzrayim so you should starve from not having bread? You think you went to Mitzrayim, you're going to drown in the sea? Don't worry about it. So this is really very much the Parsha of Bitachon, having trust in Hashem. And in our own lives, so many times we face these different things. Sometimes we're facing the sea and we feel like the enemy's coming and pushing us into the sea in our own life. And sometimes we feel hungry. We don't know where we're going to get the next meal from. And sometimes we feel like people are fighting against us. Amalek is coming to destroy us. We have to do, Hashem wants us to make a keli, Hashem wants us to make the vessels, and we sometimes are frustrated and we don't know how it's going to work out, but Hashem says, Bitachon Bitachon means ragua, be calm, relax. Hashem put you down in this world for a reason. You didn't fall down from the sky by mistake. You're not like a soul that tripped and fell into this world. God placed you here. God has a plan for you. That's what Bitachon. Bitachon is not just trust. It's not a munah that you believe in God. Bitachon is you have trust in God. You trust that this is going to be. That's V'mana nisenu. It says that the man, Hashem specifically gave the man in such a way that every single morning they had to learn. It was an exercise for 40 years. They had to learn every single morning to trust God, to go to sleep at night and know that in the morning there's going to be food outside. To go to sleep at night and to know that Hashem is going to watch you. Hashem has a plan for you. And not only that, not just to protect you in a bubble, but it's a relationship. L'mana nisenu, that God says l'mana nisenu, what is God testing? To see if we're going to keep Torah mitzvahs. How does our performance of Torah mitzvahs get affected by our anxieties? How does our performance of Torah mitzvahs get affected by our uncertainties? Hashem says we have a joint relationship. It's a shutaf, we're a partnership. And the partnership is that God gave us the Torah and He's giving us the Torah next week and He gives us the Torah every day. And we have to do our Torah mitzvahs. That's our job. And our job, of course, is the Seishes Yom Tavod, and we have to do a sisa, we have to go out and work, we have to do all the things. But there's a greater kavanah, a greater reason for why the world is here, and we have to have trust in Hashem, and we don't get overwhelmed by what our eyes see, and we're able to actually. It says like we learned in the Maimer from the Alter Rebbe that the splitting the Red Sea the Jewish people saw. So Yad Gdel, they saw the great hand, and then Vayiru B'Hashem, they had fear. They had fear and they had trust. They had bitachon, they had faith. And I just saw the Mittel Rebbe on the way over here. The Mittel Rebbe added to this, and he says that what did they see? They saw how much they could affect. They saw the great hand. They saw what a yid could do. They saw the power of what it means to do something in this world. It means to do a mitzvah in this world. So Stacy's joining us in the last second. So I just want to wish everyone that this is a week of bitachon. This is a week of your Shvat. This is not it's not your regular week. We're gonna hopefully we all go to Kriyas Torah, and we come to Shul and we read the Shira. We sing a song. We sing a song. When you sing a song, it calms a person. You sing a song is your simcha. You're happy. It says that kol balei shir nimshachim b'shir. Shir means a leash, but also shir means a song. We move with song. We dance to the music. We dance to the tunes of confidence and trust and happiness and excitement. We focus on the positive. We know that there's so many things that could happen. Again, this week's parsha is about the trust, and when you have real menucha, real calmness, real ragua, you're singing out of excitement, out of anticipation of the positive, not of the negative. This is a week where we have to build foundations of trust for Hashem, foundations of trust of our purpose as an individual, to not be survivors but to be thrivers, to be people that build. Basi Lagani, we're building the home. Like the example we started this little schmooze with, that when the bride brings the groom back into the bedroom after there's been sichsuch, after there's been confrontation, and God says, Basi Lagani, I'm coming back home. So the bride has to also make the room nice, make the beds, put a little basket of flowers here, and put a little, open the shades, bring the light in. That's our job. We have to make this place. But God is coming home, and we're gonna. The Mashiach is coming. Is Basi Lagani. We're gonna be together again, and in the anticipation of being together, we sing. We're excited. We dance. We have a tune. And we have trust that it's going to happen. It's going to work out. There's a lot of obstacles. It says harbe kitrogim. We said many times when God tells the Navi tells David HaMelech that Shlomo is going to be king. He says Ken Yomer Hashem. So let it be. What do you mean Ken Yomer Hashem? God just said it's going to be. So of course it's going to be. Harbe kitrogim. There's a lot of adversaries. There's a lot of voices that are in our head that we doubt and we question. You have to know when you go with a tune, when you go with a song, with a shira, it's a sign, it's a simon, it's a sign of our confidence, it's a sign of our bitachon. And again, this is a week of bitachon, a week of positivity. And like next week when we're going to have the revelations of Har Sinai that we're going to read about in Matan Torah, may it be that Hu Yigalenu Shenis, that this is the second revelation. Hashem comes down with the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu, Meher B'Yimeinu. I want to remind everyone the great, beautiful custom that we have, l'chaim, of the feeding of the birds on Shabbos Shira, and the Parshas Haman, and some have the custom to really learn stark the Parshas Haman, the part of the Torah that deals with the man, to learn it and to say it. So l'chaim, everyone. May we have betachon, may we have emunah, may we have yira. May we have the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu, B'mheir B'meinu, speedily in our time. Shabbos, everyone. Laila Tov. Take care. Thank you for joining.
Shabbos.